Aloha. Good evening. This is Andrew Aloha live out of Flagstaff, Arizona, with Spiritual Image Productions. Actually, I just did this video earlier, and I went and got some water from the well between Flagstaff and Sedona, and I came back, and somehow it was accidentally deleted on my phone. And I tell you what, this new Samsung A14 is a piece of shit, so I wouldn't recommend getting this phone. But anyhow, um, I wanted to I'm redoing this because I think it's very important for people to understand that rape is something to be considered seriously. Um, unless, well, either way, it doesn't matter. But anyhow, last night I watched um, season one, episode 8 of Felicity, and I thought they did a pretty good job with presenting the the issues of rape to some extent or another. And I thought, wow, there was a part of it that I hadn't even thought about, and I thought, well, that's really interesting. But anyhow, um, first of all, when somebody says maybe, you know, and this is a little bit, this is a little aside because they didn't really refer to it in the show, but with tantra, whenever somebody says maybe, hey, do you want to go out tonight? Well, maybe. Or hey, you want to have sex tonight? Oh, maybe. That means no. Whatever the situation is, it doesn't matter. Maybe is the same as no. So when somebody says, hey, maybe this or maybe that, it's the same thing as no. Now, next, in this scene, in about towards the middle of the scene, and I seen it. I was watching the show, and I seen it a mile away happening. I knew it was going to happen. The Apparently Julie and the guy she was hanging out with, a film student by the name of Zach, were hanging out, and they, had been doing this stuff together. And then that night they went to for in this particular episode, they went to a bar and drank a couple of beers or whatever, and they went back to Julie's dorm, and they started kissing, and then the scene shows them going into her dorm room, and they close the door, and then blip, next scene, right? So it's like that. And I already knew what was going to happen. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. Felicity goes over and talks to her friend Julie, they're best friends, and the well, Julie explains that she had told Zach that she wanted to take it slow and take her time, and she didn't really want to have sex that night. And in fact, prior to, Julie had been out with a guy by the name of Ben, who Felicity has the hots for as well. They both had the hots for him, and at the beginning of the season, starts going out with him, and he says, "Hey," I think he made an advance on her, and he made a move on her, and she said no, very much the same thing. I want to take it slow, and he stopped right there on the spot, right? So he took it for face value that no meant no, and then he didn't pursue it anymore. So anyhow, they stopped going out, and then now Julie's involved with this other guy, right? And she says the same thing. She's telling this guy the same thing, and she's explaining this to facility, or Felicity, facility. Yeah, she's a facility. She's Felicity in a facility. Why not, right? So anyhow, she's explaining this to Felicity, and the show was very polite in not showing the graphics of this. They didn't show anything. They didn't show the violent part of it, and it probably was violent to some extent or another, even though Julie didn't perceive it to be so. I believe. So anyhow, Julie's saying, yeah, I said, I told him I want to go slow, and they take off their shirts, or he takes off his shirt, Zach takes off his shirt, and then he takes off Julie's shirt, and then he moves to the bra and he puts his hand down her panties, and proceeds. And at this point, she's saying no, right? And at this point, he proceeds to insert himself inside her, right? At this point, it, we're talking rape right now, and what was interesting is that he didn't think it was rape, and she didn't know. In Later in the episode, she states that she had been through a similar situation, and she had been raped before, is what she was saying. I'm pretty sure, and she didn't understand what rape meant. That was what blew me away. Uh, she's talking. They're trying to talk her into getting counseling, getting some assistance, some kind of support to help her out with that, and she's refusing to. Why? Because she doesn't understand what rape really is, right? So, you know, and this goes for everyone. When you're sending out uh, confused signals, uh, um, then it doesn't help anybody, and it doesn't matter who you are, men, women, otherwise. If you're out there and you're hanging out with somebody and you're starting to get intimate, and you don't know whether you want to get intimate with this person or not, and sending out confused signals, you need to figure that out quick or take a time out, right? Hey, time out. I need to figure this out. I don't know that I want to have sex or get really heavily intimate right now. So we need to take a break right now for a day, 2 weeks, sometimes for the rest of your life. It just depends what's going on. So anyhow, she was saying no. The second that, and that's the boundary. That's the boundary. You say no, and then if somebody starts making an advance on you, then at this point we're talking rape. Now, the only time that this can be legal, if you even want to call it that, is in the essence of S&M. So, but the difference is when you're talking S&M, you have a safe word, whereas illegal rape, there's no safe word involved at all, right? Things are just happening, and and somebody says no, and they still keep on it, keep actively being intimate, and now we're talking rape, like the illegal kind. Now, the other thing that was mentioned is that there was alcohol involved, and for those, for if you read the statistics and you read the research this, um, and especially with date rape, right? Are you college students? If you look at the statistics, um, when rape cases go to court and there's alcohol or drugs involved, pretty much that's a closed case. So if you are drinking, number one, and you are intimate with somebody, you need to be really, really clear about what your intentions are, right? Like in Tantra. And if you really don't want to be involved intimately or sexually with somebody, you need to make that very clear at the get go or in that process. So that way the other person understands, no, this is not right, and this is not okay for me to continue forward in this direction. So that was part of the other part of the equation that was also happening, is that they had been under the influence. And when we're talking of under the influence, you either need to have a friend there hanging out with you, so make sure that they will help you with being clear about your intentions, or just end the night or do something else, go somewhere else, you know, take a time out for the time being. So it's very important that you understand that. and that everybody understands that, not just men or women or both, both, all, everyone. So anyhow, and because when you're getting into S&M, and there are women out there that enjoy getting raped. I went out with a woman years ago, and she said she had been raped over 100 times. She said basically she was saying she was into S&M, and rape was part of her gig, what part of what she liked, enjoyed. And again, if that's the case, I'm sure she had a safe word for that. If she didn't feel comfortable past a point, then the safe word would be come out, and and um, and then you stop the activity right there. And you can even do that with your partner. You know, I'm I'm a virgin, and I believe both of them were virgin. I'm a virgin, or I haven't been out with somebody in a long time, and I like you, and I'm interested in being involved with you intimately, but right now I'm not ready. All right, I had some tragic events that occurred years ago, and I'm not ready to take that step yet. And if we start to get involved intimately, then you can create a safe word with each other, so that way, if it gets too heavy, you can say the safe word and you can stop right there on the spot. And it doesn't even have to be involved involving S&M, right? It's just a basic healthy relationship, period, in general. So anyhow, I did. I parted ways with this woman. She was really a good looking woman, and I didn't get into the S&M portion of it with her. I just left it at that, and then we parted ways, and that was that. Right? So it's like that. So anyhow, again, the main thing that blew me away was that even Julie didn't understand what rape was, right? So, and there are all kinds of ways of saying no, um, and the biggest thing about this is if you're on a date, you have to say no if you really don't want to be involved intimately or sexually with that person. You really have to say no. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. And there's all kinds of ways of saying no. You can verbally say it. That's the easiest way, and that's the most technical way that will describe or um, point to rape if it goes beyond that. You can push the person away. If the guy or the person is already inside you, you can take their dick out and push them away, or just take a time out with that person. Don't even go out with that person anymore, or hang out with that person until further notice. Until you can both be clear on your intentions with each other. If you can't be clear with the intentions with each other, then I would definitely suggest taking time out until further notice, right? And again, this woman she had already been raped. Julie had already been raped. I'm pretty sure that's what she was saying. And so now she's creating a pattern of, yeah, the only time I have sex is when I'm raped. The only time I'm gonna have sex is when I'm raped. Well, that doesn't do anybody any good, even if that is the case. It doesn't do you any good. It doesn't do the partner any good. You're sending out mixed signals. There's confusion going on, and even towards the end of the episode, Zach did finally admit that he had raped her, and he ended up leaving school. And it can ruin your life. If you rape somebody, it can ruin your life for the rest of your life. So don't do it. When somebody says no, no really means no, right? And if you're playing mindfuck games with somebody, and you want them to rape you because you don't want to feel guilty about having sex, well, you really need to clear that up for yourself, because if you're sending mixed signals, that's not healthy for you, and that's not healthy for your partner. Not even close. If you want to do S&M, get into S&M, then you need to create a safe word and get somebody with that does get into S&M as well. So work has to be, everybody has to be on the same table, right? On the same page. So anyhow, it is what it is. And if you're, if you even think you're involved in dating someone or hanging out with someone, if you even think, and it was stated that this guy was being aggressive. If somebody's getting aggressive with you, um, then that might be a sign that you need to take a time out, or be very clear, really, really clear on your intentions with each other. Because if you don't, that can cause a lot of problems, you know. And it doesn't matter if you're the victim or the villain. You have to take the time out to straighten all the shit with the political or the legal aspect of all of it. It's a pain in the ass to deal with. The police wanted to talk to Julie, the counselors wanted to talk to Julie, and she wouldn't do any of it because she didn't understand what rape really was. Second, somebody says no, and if you cross that boundary and continue with being aggressive with that person and being intimate, you're getting into the territory of rape. You really, all of you need to really understand that boundary, and it can be a fine thin line, but it doesn't have to be if you're really clear and understand what's going on with yourself and what's going on with the person you're hanging out with. Have a God Goddess week. Be the love that you are, always have been, and always will. Aloha.